Organization theory is the study of how organizations are created, how they function, and how they interact with their environments. It offers a variety of conceptual frameworks for understanding the structures, processes, and social dynamics that shape organizational life. Rather than offering a single model, organization theory spans multiple schools of thought, each with its own assumptions about what organizations are and how they should be studied. These theories range from early mechanical models of formal structure to more recent explorations of culture, power, identity, and technological change. Understanding these perspectives is essential for anyone seeking to comprehend how modern organizations operate and how they evolve in response to internal and external pressures. In its earliest formulations, organization theory emerged alongside the rise of large industrial enterprises. Classical theorists such as Max Weber, Frederick Taylor, and Henri Fayol developed models intended to bring order and rationality to complex organizations. Weber's theory of bureaucracy described an ideal type of organization characterized by hierarchy, rules, and impersonality. He saw this as the most efficient form of administration, though he also warned of its potential to become dehumanizing. Taylor's scientific management focused on maximizing efficiency through time studies, standardization, and close supervision of workers. Fayol, meanwhile, laid out broad principles of administration that emphasized coordination and control. These early thinkers shared an assumption that organizations were closed, rational systems designed to achieve clearly defined goals. Yet, the mechanistic nature of classical theories soon drew criticism for ignoring the human side of organizations. The human relations school, emerging in the 1930s, brought attention to the social and emotional needs of workers. The Hawthorne studies, which revealed the significance of attention, group dynamics, and informal norms, shifted focus from formal structure to interpersonal relationships. Elton Mayo and his colleagues argued that productivity was deeply influenced by morale, communication, and leadership style. This ushered in a new era in which organizations were seen not just as machines, but as social systems, in which meaning, motivation, and belonging mattered. Although the human relations movement was still largely concerned with improving managerial control, it laid the groundwork for later, more critical and interpretive approaches. The next major development came with the rise of contingency theory, which challenged the idea of one best way to organize. Scholars such as Joan Woodward, Paul Lawrence, and Jay Lorsch argued that organizational effectiveness depended on the fit between internal structures and external conditions. For example, different types of technology or environments might require different forms of hierarchy or coordination. This flexibility-oriented perspective helped explain why some bureaucracies succeeded while others failed, and why organizations needed to tailor their practices to specific contexts. Contingency theory helped bridge the rationalist tradition and more open-ended models of adaptation and complexity. Systems theory deepened this contextual view by treating organizations as open systems that depend on exchanges with their environment. Rather than seeing organizations as self-contained entities, systems theorists emphasized inputs, outputs, feedback loops, and the interdependence of subsystems. The work of Daniel Katz and Robert Kahn extended this model to organizational behavior, showing how survival depended on adaptation, learning, and the regulation of internal processes. Systems theory also introduced concepts such as equifinality, the idea that multiple paths can lead to the same outcome, and homeostasis, or the capacity to maintain equilibrium amid change. These ideas made organization theory more dynamic and more attuned to real-world complexity. Another major theoretical shift occurred with the rise of institutional theory, which drew attention to the social and cultural dimensions of organizational life. Rather than focusing solely on efficiency or fit, institutional theorists emphasized legitimacy. Organizations, they argued, often adopt certain structures, policies, or symbols because they are seen as appropriate or legitimate in a given social context, not because they improve performance. John Meyer and Brian Rowan showed how formal structures could become decoupled from actual practices, functioning more as symbolic gestures than operational tools. Paul DiMaggio and Walter Powell identified mechanisms of institutional isomorphism. through which organizations in a shared field become increasingly similar over time due to regulatory pressures, professional norms, and imitation. This perspective helped explain why organizations sometimes resist innovation or maintain practices that appear inefficient but are socially expected. While institutional theory brought attention to legitimacy and conformity, critical perspectives explored the darker side of organizational life. Drawing on traditions from Marxism, feminism, and post structuralism, these theories examined how power, inequality, and domination are embedded in organizational practices. Michel Foucault's ideas about surveillance and discipline were applied to studies of bureaucratic control, performance appraisal, and workplace technologies. Feminist scholars highlighted the gendered nature of organizational roles, showing how assumptions about masculinity and femininity shape everything from hiring practices to leadership norms. Other critical theorists examined how race, class, and colonial legacies influence organizational structures and identities. These approaches question the assumption that organizations are neutral or benevolent, instead portraying them as contested spaces where conflict, exclusion, and ideology are always at play. Alongside the critical turn, cultural and symbolic approaches emerged to study how meaning is constructed within organizations. Drawing from anthropology and interpretive sociology, these perspectives view organizations as cultures composed of shared symbols, stories, rituals, and values. Edgar Schein developed a model of organizational culture with three levels: artifacts, visible symbols, espoused values, stated ideals, and basic assumptions, unconscious beliefs. Others, such as Carl Weick, emphasize sense-making, the process by which organizational members interpret ambiguous environments and construct shared realities. From this view, organizations are not fixed entities, but ongoing accomplishments, constantly being negotiated through language, narrative, and interaction. Leadership, change, and identity are seen not just as structural issues, but as symbolic performances. In more recent decades, attention has expanded to interorganizational dynamics. Network theory analyzes how organizations are embedded in webs of relationships that shape their access to resources and influence. From partnerships and alliances to supply chains and professional networks, these connections can create strategic advantages or vulnerabilities. Organizational ecology, by contrast, looks at the population level, studying how organizations are born, compete, adapt, and die over time. Pioneered by scholars like Michael Hannon and John Freeman, this perspective treats organizations as subject to selection pressures, much like species in an ecosystem. It emphasizes inertia, density dependence, and niche specialization, offering a powerful way to understand patterns of growth and decline across sectors. Today, organization theory continues to evolve in response to new challenges. The rise of digital platforms, artificial intelligence, and algorithmic management is transforming organizational design and control. Hybrid organizations that combine social and economic missions blur traditional boundaries. Global supply chains, virtual teams, and environmental crises demand new ways of thinking about coordination, resilience, and accountability. At the same time, long-standing issues of inequality, legitimacy, and authority remain as urgent as ever. Scholars are increasingly turning to interdisciplinary and even posthumanist approaches to make sense of organizations in an era defined by complexity, uncertainty, and rapid technological change. Organization theory is not a unified field, but a collection of overlapping, sometimes conflicting perspectives. Its richness lies in this diversity. Whether one is interested in efficiency or ethics, structure or culture, systems or stories, the theory offers tools for understanding how human beings come together to pursue collective goals, and what happens when they do. In studying organization theory, we gain more than abstract knowledge. We develop a vocabulary for analyzing the most powerful institutions in modern life, from corporations and universities to hospitals, governments, and social movements. In doing so, we also better understand ourselves as members, leaders, and critics of the organizations that shape the world we live in. Stay tuned for more insights into business and the social sciences. If you found this overview helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on future topics you'd like us to cover. I'm Dr. Dag, wishing you a fantastic day ahead.